So most men don't realize this, but your belly fat could be killing your testosterone. If you're struggling with low energy, stubborn belly, stubborn weight gain, or just poor performance across the board, your visceral fat could be the hidden culprit. I'm Dr. Adam, and I help men naturally optimize testosterone and reverse metabolic issues like type 2 diabetes without meds. Today, I'll reveal the surprising link between visceral fat and testosterone, and then a way of how to fix it fast. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how belly fat crushes your testosterone, why it's more dangerous than you think, and the 3 simple steps to fix it today. Let's dive in. So what is visceral fat, and why should you care? Well, visceral fat is the deep belly fat that wraps around your organs. So unlike the fat under your skin, which is subcutaneous fat, visceral fat is highly inflammatory and it disrupts your hormonal system. Signs that you have too much visceral fat include a waist size over 40 in men, like a hard belly versus soft pinchable fat, as well as symptoms like high blood sugar, low energy. So it's a common contributor to insulin resistance because that fat is being stored in and around your pancreas and your liver. So visceral fat isn't just cosmetic. It's a serious health risk linked to heart disease and type 2 diabetes and even low testosterone. And I remember seeing visceral fat on the cadavers in med school, and we all knew what the cause of death was. It was heart disease. And you might be thinking, well, that's a problem to deal with in my 80s, which is true, but it's also a problem today because of the impact that it has on your hormones. So how exactly does visceral fat wreck your testosterone? Well, here's what the science shows. Visceral fat produces an enzyme called aromatase that converts testosterone into estrogen. This means that excess belly fat isn't just storing energy, it's actively working against your hormone balance. Think about it this way. Visceral fat acts like a rogue gland inside your body producing hormone disrupting enzymes. So while the testosterone space is buzzing about microplastics and seed oils lowering testosterone, those are external threats. In comparison, having an estrogen producing factory inside your own body is a far more immediate and severe issue. So big picture, more belly fat means more estrogen and unfortunately less masculinity. Studies show that men with high visceral fat can have up to 50% lower testosterone than leaner men. So the impact is extreme. On top of that, more belly fat also leads to worsening insulin resistance, which further suppresses testosterone production. So this becomes a vicious cycle because insulin resistance makes it harder for your body to produce testosterone naturally. Next, visceral fat triggers chronic inflammation, which, you guessed it, interferes with testosterone production. So it's really a 1-2 punch. Okay, now that you know the many dangers of visceral fat, how do we fix it? Well, here are the science-backed strategies that I use successfully with my clients. And if you're serious about fixing this, I recommend that you do before and after blood work to monitor 4 markers: free and total testosterone, SHBG, and estradiol. And that's because you don't need to get your visceral fat numbers to 0, but you do want to be within a healthy range, which means visceral fat should be less than 10% of your total body fat. So the body composition scale that I use has a visceral fat rating scale from about 1 to 60, I believe. And a rating between 1 and 12 is generally considered healthy, -7. So you could also assess visceral fat and monitor progress by using a waist to height ratio, which should ideally be no greater than 50%. So your waist is half your height in inches. Okay, so step 1 to ditch the belly is to fix your nutrition. Prioritize high protein, low carb meals to support fat loss and testosterone production. And that means minimal grains, potatoes, and added sugar while completely cutting out processed sugars and refined carbs. You want to replace those calories with healthy fats like avocados, olive oil, fatty fish like salmon. And another key nutrition rule is minimal alcohol, so especially beer and especially IPAs, which can significantly contribute to the visceral fat production and lower testosterone and higher estrogen from aromatase activity. Next up, you want to train smarter, so not longer, which means you need to prioritize resistance training over cardio. Strength training can be as simple as lifting weights 3 times a week. If you prioritize the largest muscles in your body, so your legs, your shoulders, your glutes, that should also boost testosterone production. So cardio should primarily be at a lower heart rate, something like walking or rucking, and intended to aid recovery, as opposed to being like your main source of movement. The next tool to dissolve visceral fat is high intensity interval training. 10 to 15 minutes of HIIT burns more of the visceral fat than 60 minutes of steady state cardio. So what I do is I combine resistance training with high intensity interval training and do a kettlebell workout 3 days per week on non-consecutive days. Last step to improve your body composition is optimal sleep and lower stress, because simply put, deep sleep equals higher testosterone levels since testosterone is made at night after REM sleep. So you want to aim for 7 to 8 hours per night and consider tracking your sleep quality to see if you're actually getting that good deep sleep. So big picture, think of it this way. You want deep health, and that means you don't want deep fat. So getting rid of visceral fat isn't just about looking better, although that's true too. It's about long-term health and longevity. It's also about maintaining optimal testosterone levels. So there you have it. Visceral fat destroys testosterone, but now you know exactly how to assess it and fix it. So start by cleaning up your diet, lifting weights, and optimizing your sleep. All right, if you found this helpful, subscribe for more science-backed health tips for men.